12 years, 157 England games, 1,185 games in total. It's a very special episode. I'm Rachel.
I'm Sophie.
And this is Extra Time with Girls on the Ball. Okay, it is our 12th birthday today, so we thought we would do a special episode to try and look back at some of our memories over the past 12 years. And we've picked out 3 items you may normally notice when we do our podcasts at home in London, that we've got like a bookshelf behind us full of countless memories and bits and pieces that we've collected over the years.
I'm a hoarder.
Well, I wasn't going to say, but she's out of herself now.
I mean, you always laugh when I bring out the lanyards and stuff. So
I think the programmes and the accreditation is a bit much to be keeping over 12 years, but nevertheless, we're obviously not in front of that bookcase right now, but we have brought 3 items from that bookcase that we're going to talk to you about today as memories of our 12 years. So if you're listening to us in your earphones rather than watching us on YouTube, we're going to do our very, very best to describe in great detail these 3 items. Otherwise,
okay. Challenge accepted.
Otherwise, maybe just pop on over to YouTube later and have a look at them. But we have been going for 12 years, as I said. Started at the London Olympics 2012. Just after. Team GB versus Brazil, though, was the fuse that lit the spark for us.
Yeah, it was. It was that special moment where we went into Wembley and there were 70,000 people there. And I think we always say that when we interviewed Steph a few months back, that roar at Wembley when she scored against Brazil, I've had many roars in my life of following football and covering football, but that one will last with me forever, I think.
Yeah, and it kind of sparked us into action. We wanted to find out more. There wasn't a lot to find out, really. There wasn't a lot of places to go to find out stuff in football, and we were on holiday in Portugal, and we had this idea, maybe we'll start like a women's sports website dedicated to women's sports, and maybe we should start with football as like a jumping off point because that's our favourite sport. And that was more than enough to be getting on with.
Proved to be something that took over our whole life.
Yeah, absolutely. And it was quite nice a couple of weeks back that we went to the Paris Olympic football final, 12 years on from London 2012, seeing Brazil again. We also did the final in London 2012, which is the last time the USA won. So, I don't know if we're like a lucky charm or whatever that might be, but Emma Hayes, give us a shout if you're still going to the next Olympics and you want some extra luck. But it sparked everything off for us. We've had some wonderful memories over the years. We obviously did it alongside our jobs for 9 years.
How did we do that?
I don't know. It was crazy.
I literally can't fathom it now.
And many of these items that we received during, 24-hour holidays or whatever it is we've negotiated with our various bosses at the time. But this is our 4th season now, full time. 12 years old. So, we're kind of out of that awkward young adult stage. We're kind of at the cool end of school where you're like the oldest, right?
I'm not sure we're cool. We're old. Just
get into the metaphor. And before we take that step into going into big school or secondary school or whatever it is you guys call it, and then you're back at the bottom of the ladder again and you feel like super awkward. So we're going to enjoy this 12.
Okay.
Because we can feel kind of
Are we going backwards?
No,
but from the ladder?
We do when you go into big school. You go from being like the top of the school in primary school, and then you go to secondary school and you're like right at the bottom of the ladder again and you're like trying to find your way. So
that metaphor went over my head.
Obviously, you weren't very good in school, I'm guessing.
Very good in school, thank you very much.
Let's move on quickly before I insult her anymore. First item that I've picked, for those of you listening, it's like an ASMR. No, it's not. It's a boot. It's a football boot. It's a left boot. I'm going to bring it into shot now.
Black and white, and it's
black
Nike.
And white. Oh, what was it? Was it Tempo? Was it? Do you remember that? For those of you listening, the half and half kind of boot. It's white at the front, black at the back, with the white Nike tick. I always think of the red at the back and the white at the front. Do you remember them? I really like that version. Is it Tempo 90? What is it? It's a boot.
It's a boot.
It is a boot from Karen Bardsley, no less. Is that correct?
Yes, that is right. It was almost thrown at us, I think.
A little bit. We'll take it though as we get it.
Yeah.
She took out her insole or whatever else is in there, because a lot of them often have those insoles in there. It's a big boot.
So there was another boot, but
obviously she didn't go out on the pitch at one.
And she didn't just give us one. But this was back in, I can't remember the year.
2015, I think it was the World Cup qualifiers.
So 2014, 2015. And we had travelled out to Turkey, and because back then, well, even now with the women's game, but even more so back then, when you played anywhere, you were in the middle of absolutely nowhere. And so we trekked out to this place. I think it was something like 90 miles from the Syrian
Astana
border. No, that's Kazakhstan.
What was the name of it? But I do remember, I remember emailing the FA to be like, is this the place you mean? Like this place, it's 90 miles from the Syrian border. And they're like, yeah, that's the one. Yeah, that's where the game's being played. So we were like, okay.
So we trekked out. We had a very, very stressful journey. Involved landing in Istanbul about 4:00 in the morning. We very relaxed way booked into our hotel in Istanbul airport, checked in early, had a couple of hours sleep. We're like grand. And then we went to get our flight down to wherever we were going. I really wish I could remember.
It really annoys me that I can't remember the name of the place.
In the middle of Turkey, and we went through security, we sat down, got a coffee, like, this is grand. And then we looked at the board and we're like, shit, the flight is cancelled.
No, the flight was delayed. It was delayed by 4 hours.
So it was delayed by 4 hours, which meant we would miss kickoff. So there was absolutely no point on getting the 4-hour delayed flight. So quick thinking travellers that we are, we looked at the board and we realised there was another flight to Antalya. No. Was it Antalya?
No, it's in Turkey. It's not the wrong part of Turkey. We can't remember it, so stop trying to remember.
Anyway,
remember at the end of the podcast.
There was a flight to this place, leaving in about half an hour, 40 minutes.
I'm pretty sure it was boarding at the time.
Probably. And so we managed to persuade the lovely security guards to let us back through.
You say that. It was a very stressful conversation of them not speaking English and us not speaking Turkish, and us trying to say we need to go back through, and them trying to say you can't go back through. No one goes back through. And we're like, no, but we need to go back through. And
eventually we got back through and we ran to the ticket desk. We're like, can we buy a flight ticket to this flight, please? And they were a bit perplexed, but they sold us a ticket.
€30.
We rushed back through, ran, and got the bus to the flight.
There were 2 people left to board when we got to that gate.
We made it, right?
Why do I think it's called Astana? It's not Astana.
It was one of the 3 flights we've ever had massive stress.
Yeah, so we got the flight. We got to where we were going. We got to the stadium, and in the middle of nowhere. In the middle of nowhere, and there weren't that many people at the game. Predominantly men, unsurprisingly. But us and Mike, Emma, who else was there? There was maybe 4 or 5 England fans. It was just 4 England fans. We got put in the fancy seats, right? Now, when I say fancy seats, I mean office chairs put into the wet cement.
They were so proud of it.
They were so proud of it. They were very soft chairs, and they swiveled. But they were office chairs put into the wet cement. They then solidified, and this was their fancy area in this pitch. VIP. And that was the VIP section. So we watched the match from there, and I remember going and needing water at halftime. We got escorted by the security guard out to the stadium to the little stand outside where the person was serving or selling water, and then he escorted us back in again. He asked a few inappropriate questions, and we kind of thought, right, we won't go out and get any more refreshments. Watch the match, and then afterwards, Karen Bardsley very kindly came up to the group and handed us her boots. So we took the one boot that we have shown you and described in great detail,
and Emma got the other,
and we gave Emma the other, and that was a stressful time because that 26-hour journey was almost screwed by a delayed flight. So that was memory number 1.
There is nothing worse than getting halfway to your intended destination and realising that you can't make it, and that you've actually made your flight halfway across the world in complete vain of, being at a football match.
It happened to you quite recently, actually, didn't it? When you were literally standing up to board your flight.
At least I hadn't left the UK.
True. To board your flight. You were boarding to Lithuania via Berlin, and your flight was cancelled as you were boarding. We've had a flight cancelled in Madrid. I'm trying to think of some
news. That
was
on the way home. So
we had a flight cancelled to Perth during the World Cup.
And we had multiple travel issues in the She Believes Cup.
In the She Believes Cup with weather, we drove.
Do you remember our 8-hour stopover in Baltimore Airport?
Oh, God, yeah. I remember driving from Ohio to New York, across 3 states, maybe, because of the weather. That was a good adventure.
Snow bomb, a storm bomb, whatever they call it, a thunder bomb.
Thunder.
No, there was the bomb in it.
Yeah.
A thunder bomb. It was like one of those particular really harsh snowstorms that happen in the northeast of America in the winter. And it happened to strike just as we were meant to be leaving Ohio. So we decided to go by the ground route.
It's fun. It was a good time. Next memory. We're kind of doing this in a random order. But as I said at the top of the show, we've done over 1,000 games in total.
1,185.
And 157 England games. And we hit our 1,000th game February last year. February last year?
No, the year before.
The year before. At the old Arnold Clark Cup in Coventry, I'm going to say. And we were presented with, we've got 2 shirts now. We've got our 100th game shirt, which was presented to us in Portugal by Phil Neville.
Actually, maybe it was last year. Was there an Arnold Clark Cup last year?
2023.
Yeah.
3. Yeah.
So 2023.
Last year. So this got presented. Now, if you remember the Arnold Clark Cup, it was a double header. And we'd had the England game against Italy, I want to say. And then it was Belgium, South Korea. Anyway, I very diligently had gone back out to the pitch to get some warm-up stuff, to get some content. And Sophie was in at the press conference.
Stressed.
Very stressed.
I was on a deadline to write because England played
Italy.
first.
Yeah.
And I was on a deadline to write, and I had like an hour to rewrite whatever and put the quotes in from the press conference. So I wasn't really focusing. I got the quotes that I needed from the press conference, but I wasn't really focusing because I was writing.
And then Serena Wiegman called her up to present her with this. Now, for those of you listening on the podcast, white England shirt. You know what that looks like. And it says, "To Girls on the Ball, congratulations on your 1,000th game." And it is signed by Serena and maybe Sue Campbell or someone.
Oh, yeah, I think. Maybe.
Anyway, it was very nice. And I'm there out in the pitch, doing my work. And I get a photograph from the girls of a very red-faced Sophie with Serena and this lovely football shirt.
I do not do well with surprises, especially when I become the focus of the attention in the surprises.
At least you were there to receive it, Sophie.
I was a tomato.
Some of us were out on the pitch.
Well, you spent the time photoshopping yourself into the photo, and I spent the time trying to dull my red face out of the photo.
So when I photoshopped myself into the photo, I did tone down your redness.
Yeah.
But that was very nice. It was very unexpected. It was quite nice that our 1,000th game had landed on an England game. So that was a very kind of special moment. I was raging that I missed the whole bloody thing. I sometimes worry that Serena thinks Girls on the Ball is just Sophie. But it was very nice of them to do that. And we'd also then gotten...
The FA are really, really good at this. And we it's super... You never expect it, but it's super appreciated when it happens. They do pay attention, and they do realise that we've been around for a bloody long time, I think, at this point. And it's very nice that they have considered on the 2 big things we're about to say.
So behind Sophie's head, again, for those of you listening, is our 100th shirt. So the number is 100 on the front, which is pretty cool. And it's signed by the whole team. And that was presented to us by Phil Neville after a friendly against Portugal.
In Lisbon.
We'd been in a very smoky press box, which was an outside press box, but kind of indoor. It was like an inside press box, but the windows had no glass. The sun was setting directly opposite us for the 90 minutes, and every feckin' man in the place was puffing on cigarettes for the whole game. Do you remember?
It was also probably one of the worst games of football I've ever seen.
Oh, Jesus wept. I think someone scored from their bum, or they fell over and landed on the ball and squirted in. Do you know that kind of way?
It wasn't good. It was painful.
Yeah. It was a kind of, downfall of Phil Neville after the World Cup, but he very kindly gave us this shirt, which we very much appreciated. So there are some pretty cool ones that we have in our collection that I think are special.
Yeah, very special. And I think especially since following, I know you're Irish and that's very special to you as well, but following England has been at probably the centre of what we've done for the last 12 years. It started with England games or Team GB games, and we've pretty much tried to do almost every home and away game ever since.
Listen, our mini moon after our wedding was meant to be a few days away in Portugal, just the two of us lying by the pool. But England announced a friendly in Spain on the Tuesday, and we got Guadalajara. We had gotten married on the Saturday. Maybe the game was on the Monday. No, the game was on the Tuesday. And so we did a very quick reshuffle of our plans. I do
love that you accepted the reshuffle of the plans. Like, I'm pretty sure I said, England are playing in Guadalajara, shall we go? And you didn't blink. You knew that, like, we had to go.
Yeah, but I also think England also played France the night before our wedding up in Doncaster, I think it was. And Sophie seriously considered going. And I absolutely vetoed that. Even though we weren't spending the night together, I was like, you are not going up to this game the night before our wedding while I'm at home with all of my bridesmaids and my mom cutting up place names and writing all sorts of like various things for our table. So the going away to Madrid, wasn't the worst thing in the world. It did rain the whole time.
Yeah.
It was in Guadalajara, which is
we ate way too much tapas.
I mean, that's not a bad memory for me.
No, particularly ham and cheese.
Yeah.
Like, there was very simple tapas.
Yeah. But we ended up in Guadalajara in some field that I feel like they'd cleared out a herd of cows beforehand to play this match. And I do remember some of the team afterwards coming over and finding us to congratulate us on getting married. So that was very nice. But it just gives you an idea of some of the ridiculous things we've done. We've been to Russia for 24 hours. We went to Kazakhstan, Pavlodar. See, I remember that place, but I don't remember the place we feckin' went in Turkey.
Pavlodar was an experience.
We went recommend. Belarus. Quite a few places where they're like, double bed or twin, and you immediately say twin and take off your wedding ring.
There was also... when you say about like how we worked for 9 years alongside it and having to persuade bosses, I do distinctly remember the call I made to my boss when England beat Canada in the quarterfinal of the World Cup in 2015. And I rang her from Vancouver and was like, I'd only managed to get 3 weeks off work.
Oh.
And I rang her and she was like, you're asking for more time off on you. And I was like, yes, I will take it unpaid. It was just, I'm not coming home, essentially. I will come home if you tell me to come home, but I'm not coming home. And she was like, you're going to be in a serious mood with me if I make you come home so you can stay out as long as England are out there. So thank you, Mel.
I had a similar experience working in quite a serious job during the 2019 World Cup, working in counterterrorism. And I took the initial 2 weeks off and then said, look, there might be a bit more after that where I have to go away for 24 hours or 48 hours. Like, is that okay? And to be fair to them, they were pretty flexible.
I think everyone we've worked with from all of our different jobs that we've done have really understood how much this meant and how much Girls on the Ball actually made us better at our jobs, because while we were out in the evenings and had to leave and we had to do some ridiculous traveling and all of this stuff, I think it gave us the energy to perform well in our jobs, and it also provided us with skills in our jobs that we didn't have before. So we're very lucky that they were really understanding, but I do think it was a sort of complementary thing that happened.
I used to do the social media channels for Baddies and Dogs and Cats Home. That was the job I did before counterterrorism, and they're a natural progression there. But I went back a couple of weeks back to visit a friend, and they were saying to me, oh my God, did you see, like, we've had Beth Mead in, we've had like Alex Scott, I was like, yeah, I bloody saw that. And I spent years saying, we need to get the Lionesses in, we need to get these girls in and like get some content with them. And there was no interest. And then suddenly they win the Euros and, everyone wants them in. But it was a funny kind of when the two things collide. Our final item, which is probably our most prized possession, our most precious
a bit of a polish
possession.
Yes.
Well, it's been hidden away for a long time because we're terrified we might lose it. It
is one of the few things that get kept. We have a little safe at home, and it's one of the few things that we keep put in that little safe.
Now, you probably can't read this on camera, and for those of you listening, you definitely can't read it. But it says FA Women's Challenge Cup winners. So basically,
that was the FA Cup.
The FA Cup.
Back in the day.
FA Cup winners medal, which I don't know if you can see on camera, but that is what it looks like. For those of you listening, it is a little, you're right, it needs a polish, gold medal, Women's Challenge Cup winners, the Football Association, it says on the back, and it has like a little crest on the front with the England crest as well. And we got that from Shelley Kerr. And it was her final match as Arsenal boss, wasn't it? Mm-hmm. She had been sacked. We're told she was going at the end of the season. She'd had
She decided to go,
but it was one of those, she jumped before she was pushed. And I think she was one of the first managers in after Arsenal had been so dominant for so long, and Laura Harvey left, and someone had to step into this void, and they didn't win the league, but they won the FA Cup, and she hadn't been deemed successful enough. And I remember the game, was it played in MK Dons, or was it played in, where was it? MK Dons. Yeah. And God, look at that memory. We had
literally come back from Ukraine, I think.
Lviv.
Yeah.
Lviv. And we had a sign, we were fans back then, that said, "We'll miss you, Shelley," because we thought it was really sad that she was being sacked. You know how we feel about early manager sackings. And she happened...
This was back in the day before we were in, like, press box and stuff.
Oh, yeah, we didn't start doing press till probably just before the 2019 World Cup.
2017, yeah.
Well, I didn't start properly taking photos. So this is way back, 2015 maybe?
14, I think.
14. And Shelley happened to see the sign during the warm-up, and she gave us a wave, and we thought nothing more of it. That was nice.
She also, like, we'd been, because Arsenal had been in the Champions League, we'd been travelling abroad, and when that happened in the old days, you were like
small.
It was pretty noticeable because there wasn't many travelling fans that went. So I think she had seen us around a lot and recognised our faces.
Yeah, but Arsenal won. Were they playing Notts County? Who were they playing? Everton.
Gabby George was brilliant.
Yes, that was like 17-year-old, 17-year-old Gabby George. And yeah, they got the medals, they did the trophy lift, and then
baby Leah Williamson.
Okay, focus here. Shelley then made a beeline for the corner of the pitch, which is where we were, and she was kind of there were all these photographers like jogging alongside her trying to figure out where the hell she was going. And she made a beeline for us, handed me the medal, gave me what I'm assuming was meant to be a friendly kind of tap on the cheek, but was quite a firm slap. Scottish slap on the face.
It's a Scottish pat.
I'm sure it was meant to be friendly gesture. Handed me the medal and just walked off. And there was a picture of us on BBC of just me and my shocked face going like, what? What?
I got a message from my mum later because it'd been on the they'd been covering on the BBC Sport, the odd section of the news, and she'd been watching along, and I don't think I'd messaged her in about 4 or 5 weeks. Sorry, Mum. That's quite normal for us, but I love you great dearly. But we just don't like communicate, especially back in the day. We didn't communicate all that often. So she saw my face on the TV and was like, well, it's glad to know I can keep up with your location via BBC News.
But yes, I don't think that is something that would ever happen again. It was very much appreciated, and it's been a very, very treasured possession ever since, like kept, as you say, in our little tiny safe.
Our marriage certificate and basically the FA Cup medal. That's what's in our safe.
The most important things that we need. And yeah, like, I mean, I know the shirt was maybe a bit more recent, but those other things are quite old. Like, we've had them a long time.
Yeah, and I think it's just a reminder of how many memories we have had. And that's just 3 of them. And that's just 3 of them that we can put things to. But I think over the 12 years, it's been a countless bunch of memories. And I know you laugh at me hoarding stuff, and I know it's a bit ridiculous, but I do like the fact that in our office, when we're old, we can go back and, yes, they might mean nothing, but at the same time, we can look at all of the things that we've got and the games that we've been to. And I've got past the point of remembering every single goal. I used to be able to do
for
that.
a long time.
Now they all merge into like a long 90 minutes of stuff, but it is pretty special, I think.
And I think we've started kind of putting up some photos that I've taken over the years, and we need to add to it. But like, some of that also captures those memories, because there are some memories you have that you've nothing to kind of attribute to other than it being in your head. And like, when you've got so many matches to remember or think about, you don't want to ever lose any of those memories. So sometimes those little mementos are actually quite important. I'm sure we'll have many more to add to it, but like, some of those especially are nice reminders that we were fans first, and we were in the stands first, and that's where it kind of started.
But that's where the passion comes from. Like, it's developed beyond. Girls on the Ball has become something beyond, I think, what either of us ever imagined. We never we wanted it to become, but we never really
knew what that would look like.
Thought it would become our full-time jobs. And I think for a long time, while the hope was there, it was kind of accepted that, this is just a passion project on the side. And then COVID happened and we got stuck at home for so long. And I think we just had that little push that we needed to really try and make it. And we saw other people going from all like starting to be paid for what they were doing. And it gave us that little nudge push to be able to jump out and take the plunge into the unknown. And it's kind of worked out.
It was a bit of a, if not now, then never. And I think we knew that there was a wave that was going to come. A good wave, not a COVID wave, a wave of kind of interest in the game. We were going to have multiple major tournaments back to back. We knew it was growing and we kind of felt if we didn't do it now, it was never going to work. So, yeah, I think...
But also there was nothing really to lose. We had between us, we'd each had a almost 12-year career in digital marketing or fundraising or whatever it was behind us. So there was always something to fall back on. And Girls on the Ball was always going to operate in whatever form it took. So whether it worked as a full-time thing or whether we had to go back to just doing what we did, it was always going to happen, I think.
And I think no one would ever judge you for trying to make your dream job work. Should we ever, if we ever had to go back to working in an office, no one's going to look at your CV and go, what were you doing for the last 4 years? You're like, well, I was working my dream job. So, made it work. And so far, so good.
Touch wood. It just keeps growing.
Yes, fingers crossed. We've got another Euros to come next summer. We've got a World Cup in Brazil. I mean, there's so much to look forward to.
Even in the next 12 months, there's so much to look forward to. So.
Every season is bigger and better and exciting. So please continue listening. Continue dropping us your comments. Subscribe so you don't miss random bonus episodes like this, although we only have a birthday once a year, unfortunately. Yeah. But we are always trying to grow and to do new things. And we always welcome your input and your suggestions. And
I think especially this year, the last 2 years have been super hard in a lot of ways. Super fun, but really hard in terms of the back-to-back tournaments. We've sort of gone from one thing to the next thing to the next thing. And I think we had about a week off between the World Cup ending and all of the league stuff starting, plus Ruby Alice and all of that stuff. So we had about a week off or 10 days off. And then between the same with the Euros and the next season. So it's been back to back to back. And this season we've had a bit of a time to chill out, to think a bit and to try and think about how we can refresh things. So the last 2 years haven't seen that much newness, maybe. We've done a lot of things, I think, but we haven't done a lot of new things.
Because you've just been moving at 100 miles an hour to the next
whereas
one.
I'm hoping that this year we have the space to try new stuff and try and keep growing.
Well, you've said it now, so you're going to have to hold us to account. She said it on air, online. It's out there now.
It's good to have good dreams, though, right?
Yeah, aim high. But yes, hope you've enjoyed this kind of random birthday episode, our weird little trip down memory lane.
Just a lot of rambling.
And for those of you listening, I hope you're able to visualise.
Stay awake.
Stay awake, but visualise all of these little mementos that we've shared. And if you can't, do head over to YouTube because you can watch back there. I'm really hoping I've got all these little items in frame for you to
actually see. You could take like a photo of them as well and put them on Instagram.
Yeah, but that takes away the excitement of describing in great detail. It's describing in incredible detail who's watched 22 Jump Street. But yeah, thanks for listening. Hope you enjoyed it. And we'll be back very soon with another ep.